And we're live. Welcome back to 2025's first episode of our Home Buyer Seminar. I'm Bill Gross, along with my good friend and colleague,
Patricia Castillo.
and our good friend and lender and friend of the program and participant partner,
Shannon the lender.
2025.
Yep.
Last year, if you're trying to get your last year's goals in, you're done. You missed it.
That's right. And I don't think we were planning on starting off with the year with such devastation right now. Everything surrounding us, it's just heartbreaking. And just wanted to say my thoughts and prayers are with everybody that has been affected by the fires and lost their homes and things like that. I mean, this is a home buying workshop, and we know how hard people work for their homes and what they do to maintain them. So it's definitely something that's just so heartfelt for everyone that has been affected.
Yeah.
In the Palisades, I know in the Pasadena, like La Cañada, Flint Ridge area up in the hills there, beautiful areas. Just a shame that people are struggling with. I think also in the Inland Empire somewhere as well, right? Corona or somewhere out that way.
I did see another small fire popping up out there.
Yeah, we had, they suspect the one in Palisades was a January 1st fireworks that smoldered for a few days and then blew up when the winds hit. They never got under control, and the next thing you know, so fireworks, man. I grew up with them, and it was fun, but the days of that are behind us now. We don't, you put people's lives at risk at this point.
Absolutely.
So fortunately, I haven't been affected, but my sister, unfortunately, and her family were evacuated from Brentwood last night, and now they're back. But you can imagine how harrowing that is to get that phone call. You need to evacuate, move your family out, and you can't take everything with you. You don't have enough time to do it, right?
So, you don't. You really have to take just what you can carry.
And for those of you who follow me on social media, I do a weekly email and video. The topic I talked about last week was California's insurance disaster, where our government is really creating a nightmare of insurance. Now, the biggest problem has been, quite frankly, rising rates. And I talked about how the average, like let's say $1 million house, the insurance premium on average has gone up $200 a year for new policies. But the unstated thing I didn't even mention was that there are people who had the policies canceled and we're scrambling to get new insurance. And I'm sure we're going to hear stories of people, particularly the Palisades with some of those big houses, where their insurance was canceled on Wednesday, and they called people on Friday and they got a quote. They just didn't get the paper signed in time, and boom, the house is gone. Right? That's going to be a problem.
Yeah, and I think once somebody pays off their home, it's the best thing is to keep your insurance. But I personally know some people that have let it lapse because the insurance companies have sent out inspectors to check out the homes, and if it looks like you need a new roof, then they will give you maybe 6 months to get it fixed. And if it's not fixed in that time frame, then they will cancel your policy. And so I know somebody that is in that situation, and I mean, they're not close to the fires, but nevertheless, you never know when there's going to be some kind of accident or something where you're going to need that coverage. So when you do buy a home, it's so important to maintain your coverage and also review it with your insurance carrier and just see if there's anything that you can add or increase just to make sure that you do have that cost to rebuild, that replacement cost coverage, included with your policy that's going to be sufficient, because every year the values go up, but cost of materials increase, supplies increase, and so it becomes more expensive. So if you have a policy and you haven't reviewed it for 5 or 10 years, you may need to increase your coverage as you go along.
Yeah, this is a big issue. We could talk about in depth, what kind of coverage you have. First, make sure you have coverage, right? It's one thing when you're buying a house, you have to get it because the lender requires it. You live there for a while, and policy goes up, or they cancel you because the insurance company is leaving the state. By the way, we have comment section. I see we have about 5 people watching us, which we're glad to have you on X, YouTube. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to put it in the chat box and we'll catch you live. But there are people who don't have insurance. For example, I do in probate. Somebody dies and the decedent, stops paying the bill or doesn't know to pay the bill or whatever. The family doesn't know what to do. And now you have a house that's sitting there with no insurance at all. And so really important to get a handle on, A, is insurance enforced? B, don't let it lapse. And then C, as Patricia mentioned, get the right kind of replacement. The problem with replacement value these days, Patricia, is it's very expensive.
It's expensive. Yeah, it really is. And I know some homes that I've sold they even have the earthquake insurance included where they have the homes braced and bolted. And that is very costly too. But we do live in a state where we have earthquakes. And so if you're planning on living in your home for many years, it's definitely something to consider. And if you have to save up for it and budget for that, that's something to consider too. I mean, it is your home after all, and you are paying on it every month and planning on staying there for years. It's worth keeping your home in tip-top shape. And I think that's one of the things that sometimes I've seen kind of go by the wayside, where homeowners will not maintain their property. They don't have regular inspections done for termites and things like that. So when you do decide to buy a home, just consider that it's an extra maintenance bill that you're going to have. You want to make sure your roof is in good shape. You want to make sure that you are treating it maybe twice a year, once a year with a pest inspection company. There's different things that you want to check out to make sure that your home is in good shape, and so that you're not risking your homeowner's insurance policy getting canceled. Because if you go to another insurance company, they want to know why you were canceled, and your rates could potentially go up as well because you were canceled.
Yeah, you don't want it canceled. It's much easier to get insurance when you have it. You can get a new policy, you can get a refund on the portion that's unused. But what you can't do is get it's very hard to get insurance when you don't need it. It's like anything else in life, right? When you're married and wear a wedding ring, all kinds of women hit on you. Just FYI, that's why I wear a wedding ring.
Oh, really?
It's amazing. There's two things that attract women. One's a dog, or the three: dog, baby, and a wedding ring. Just FYI. So, yeah, it's crazy.
For for those out there who are thinking about buying their first home, and a part of the process, like Bill said, a lender will require insurance. I think Patricia said a lender will require insurance, and a part of that is the insurance will find out if you're in a high fire zone. And if you are going to need that fire insurance, which 9 times out of 10 will be the California Fair Plan, which, and a lot of my buyers say, this is stupid. Why do I have to pay this? Blah, blah, blah. And, I was actually on their side. Unfortunately, I say, hey, this is what their lender is requiring. And it doesn't seem so stupid now, right? So when you are getting into a home, just know in California, you especially if you're in a high fire zone, you will find that out through escrow, and you will 9 times out of 10, especially if you get a loan, will require to have fire insurance, which I know at the end of the day, it's an additional cost. And it's funny, the California Fair Plan makes you pay for it outside of escrow, fully up front. You cannot pay that through escrow. Now you have a wraparound insurance that'll cover everything else that can be paid, at the closing, but California Fair Plan wants to get paid separately. So be aware of that. Again, I know it's an additional cost on top of everything else that us Californians have to do, but now looking at it, it is unnecessary. So
first off, shout out to Nathan Benich from Northern California. I chatted with him this morning. He's a real estate agent that focuses on probate real estate, does a really good job in the Bay Area, Northern Central California. Thanks for joining in. Say hi, and appreciate your shout out. I used to also complain with the Fair Plan, but the truth is the California Fair Plan is insurance for people who could not get insurance on that house.
Yeah, otherwise.
But for us taxpayers financing their underpriced insurance, meaning most Fair Plan insurance is like some $5 million mansion on the ocean of Malibu that would never be insured by a real insurance company. The state of California, because those are their donors, say, well, you know what we'll do? We'll collect a little bit from all the Californians and subsidize your insurance and create the FAIR Plan. And while those people have it, feel like it's, it's not as convenient as insurance. It seems like an extra cost. Absent that, they can't get insurance. Every one of those customers shops around and they never get a policy more competitive because really they shouldn't be insured. We Californians are taking on risk that no business person would ever accept. Only government officials who collect campaign donations from these people would ever insure those houses. And I did it on my podcast. State of California today has $450 billion of FAIR Plan insurance in force today, which means that we as taxpayers are on the hook for that. So again, if you have a place where you get FAIR Plan insurance, you should say thank you and appreciate it and do whatever you can to get it paid for as fast as possible because you're getting a good deal. The rest of us, I live in a regular tract home in West LA. I don't need FAIR Plan. I have regular insurance, but we're paying for it. A little bit of our insurance is higher to pay towards a FAIR Plan. And so really, while it has a bad reputation from the users, it's really like free money from the taxpayers.
Yeah.
Okay, I got my soapbox. Sorry.
Yeah. So we're not trying to scare anybody into buying a home, but this is all about preparedness and staying aware of things that are happening in the real estate market, the housing market. So you need insurance regardless. Even if you're renting, you need renter's insurance, right? But if you're planning on buying a home, that's something that you want to make sure you have enough money for. So it's good to have a cushion once you do have your funds for a down payment. You want to have an extra cushion there for any changes within your insurance policy. So you want to make sure that you're covered for any future increases, because I know my insurance has gone up. Since I got a call from my insurance agent. She said, hey, I just want to let you know your rates are going to go up a little bit. But that's just the scenario that we're in right now with insurance. It's very difficult. A lot of, disasters happening, fires, things like that. We're experiencing more fires more often every year. And so that's why a lot of insurance companies have left California. They're not writing policies in California. But as Bill mentioned, with California FAIR Plan, you can get in there. There's also another company called Bamboo Insurance. They're writing policies where other carriers are not. So I've referred some buyers that I've dealt with to Bamboo.
Yeah.
And so there's always a way that you'll find insurance, but it's
AAA actually has some good pricing.
AAA too, but it's having the funds available to make sure that you can comfortably pay that policy, because when you close escrow, you will have to pay that year in advance, when you're buying your policy.
Exactly.
I'm telling you, just pay it fast, get the insurance in force. This whole program could fall apart any day. And I'm not predicting it. I'm just saying, if the cards are good, if you have a winning hand, play your hand and get your money. Don't play around. And the people who are in escrow, if you have FAIR Plan insurance available to you, write the check, get it done. Because I do know customers wait till last minute. They feel put out by it. I've seen that happen, and it holds up the closing because it takes a little time to get that done. Don't do that, especially this week. This is the wrong week to gamble that FAIR Plan is going to be open for new policies going forward.
Yeah. I've even heard of escrows canceling because the buyer waited to get insurance, and you have 17 days after the offer has been ratified after all signatures. So you have 17 days after the last signature to look for insurance and have it approved, and have the lender review the policy and make sure that they are accepting that insurance policy as far as the policy limits. And if there's any changes that need to be made, any increases in coverage, then you need to do all that within those 17 days. Yeah. Otherwise, once you remove all your contingencies, you could be at risk of losing your deposit if you need to fall out of escrow because your insurance isn't actually going through now. So that's something that is a really big concern. It's an important contingency to get started on. As soon as you see a house that you like and you think you want to make an offer on it, I always advise my buyers, call your insurance agent, get a quote on it right away, because they'll run it and see if there's anything that would be of concern for that specific property. the location. Maybe it's near a hillside. Maybe there's, brush near the home. And so the amount of the policy that you're going to pay will depend on the location, the size of the home, the year, any upgrades it has, things like that, the condition of the roof. So there's so many details that go into a insurance company giving you the policy and actually being able to write it and bind the coverage for you. So you want to make sure that you get started early on that process once you find the home that you like and you're writing an offer on it.
Yeah, I typically as soon as we open escrow, that is something that, like Patricia said, your lender should definitely be getting on the insurance ASAP because it costs nothing to do. It's not like it's an appraisal or anything like that.
Yeah.
Make sure that they get whoever, and obviously you as a buyer, you should know that you can shop for your own insurance. That is something that is your right. Obviously, a good lender will let you know, hey, this is who I use, and get a quote from them. At least you have another one as a backup. That's what I do, and just say, hey, you know what? Here's the quote I have. It doesn't take long to get one. And the reason why I like to do it right when we open escrow is because I do find out, hey, is it high fire zone? Do we need to get the California Fair Plan? Because the Fair Plan also will require you to take a photo of the home before they even issue out the policy. They want to see a photo that's not from the MLS. So usually when you're doing the inspection, I have the agent or the buyer take that picture and get us going, because I've seen so many, or heard so many stories, especially when I was first getting in the business. The first few transactions I required the Fair Plan, I was driving out to the house, taking the picture, trying to get this thing closed in a day or so, and you just don't want to be in that position. So only, do your homework up front, but get the insurance done. And like Bill says, be happy to pay it if you have to pay the California Fair Plan, because the days like these, I know all my clients that have it are now happy that they did it, because they're not having to worry so much, just in case it happens.
Yeah.
And I spoke with Patricia earlier today, and I want to kind of also say to everybody out there, all good insurance agents, brokers, representatives who've been in the business, who've taken care of their customers, are overwhelmed today, at least if they're in the Southern California area, with inquiries from customers, with inquiries regarding claims, trying to help their customers through this process, explain them what to do. And will be for months as they go through the claims process. And so you need to understand that getting their attention on service right now is going to be at a premium. Now, though, they're good ones and they have good staffs and they've been through this before, but you don't want to be expecting because they're too busy for you, you're going to change insurance companies frivolously. If you have a good one, you need to work what you can to stick through it, make it work, and take the extra effort to be proactive. Don't expect them right now, especially today. Personally, I've had 10 different texts and phone calls from people asking me about the fires, and I live 10 miles away from it. Yeah, I have some smoke, and I can see them. But I can imagine an insurance agent who has a book of 1,000 policies might have 100, 200 families that are at the same boat and is getting this phone call. So again, if you're in escrow or even if you're shopping, Fairview Insurance Agents, they had time, get the heads up. So as soon as you get your offer accepted, you're working with the insurance guy, making sure that he knows what has to be done, make sure that him and the lender are working together.
Yeah, and Nathan commented right now, and he actually has a point. Many of these things can be found on the NHD report. So
yes,
natural hazard disclosure.
You'll get that right. You'll get that right when you receive your seller disclosures. The escrow company will send you the natural hazard disclosure report. So that's a good point, Nathan. Thank you for pointing that out. The natural hazard disclosure report will tell the buyer where exactly where the property is located, if it's before they purchase it, if it's falling under a specific hazard zone, if it's in close to airports, if it's like in an earthquake fault area, a special flood hazard area, a high risk, high fire risk area. Maybe it's near, a brush side, a hill, like hills, mountains, things like that, whether it's near a dam, whether there's potential for flooding. So it really gives you a lot of information on the property as far as the location and what insurance companies will be looking at.
Yeah, that's a good point. That is a good point. Now, if anything on the NHD report that is alarming for you guys when you guys look at these NHD reports, Anything that
That's
you
really
would
what
like?
I start looking for. And it's like on one page, it shows you, earthquake fault zone, special flood area, near hillsides, if it's in a high fire area, things like that. If it's near a military base where there's training, you know,
Makes
things like
sense.
that. Yeah. So that's really what it tells you. It's a very it's a complete report. I mean, there's a lot of details to it, but
Oof.
when you look at it, you can start looking for the page. I think it's right in like page 2 or 3. It tells you those few kind of like bullet points of the location of the property. You can identify right away if it's in a high risk fire area.
Yeah.
So that's usually what buyers want to know right away because that's going to be an issue with insurance companies.
Insurance, they have to make sure the brush issues, disclosures, it really triggers a whole lot of main
Right.
things that are in that policy or in that disclosure. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
All
Well,
right.
look, I know,
We've had a good, robust call on insurance and
yeah.
things to look out for and
Yeah.
why location is important and be aware of those surroundings of the property.
Well, look, we've gone a little longer than we normally do. So, but it's our first episode of the year. So glad to be back with you guys. Just we'll wrap up. We do this every Wednesday. We usually do about 4:00 or so. I'd love to have you guys join us live, like Nathan did. Put your comments in or questions. And if you're watching this on the replay as well, put your comments, questions in, and we'll respond to them. Shannon, if someone wants to get a hold of you and talk about lending and get the plan going, what's the best way to get in touch with you?
Yeah, you can reach out to myself, 661-317-8484, or my Instagram, FUND Fund with Shannon on Instagram.
My New Year's resolution is to stop making that same joke I made every single episode last year. So we move on.
Every time.
Okay, nice. We got to come up with another one.
I do. And if you know the joke, you know the joke. If you don't, you missed out. Watch the past episodes.
You got to watch the replays.
You know.
Exactly. If you know, you know. And if you don't, sorry. Patricia, if someone get a hold of you, what's the best way?
My cell phone, 323-365-9909.
And I'm Bill Gross. I am at Bill Gross Probate on social media. BillGrossProbate.com is my website. And we do this every Wednesday. Thank you guys. Thank you, Patricia and Shannon. And thank you guys for watching. Nathan, thanks for checking in today. Love to have you come anytime. Maybe we should have you come on next week as a guest. Yes. If you're available, give me your let me know if you're interested at 4:00 next week. Just send me a text or something and we'll get you a guest link. Okay. Thanks, guys. See you soon.
Thank you. Bye.